Sometimes, listeners, life doesn't whisper, it roars. It pulls the ground from beneath our feet, leaving us with only one choice: to pause, to breathe, and listen differently. Well, listeners, welcome back to this beautiful episode of the Mindful Journey podcast with your host, Sana. And today we are exploring what it truly means to see, not with our eyes, but with our awareness. Listeners, my guest story is one of remarkable resilience. Losing sight as a teenager, she learned that vision isn't only about what we look at, it is about how we perceive every challenge, every obstacle, every loss, and every quiet miracle along the way. Through grit, gratitude, and mindfulness, she has turned life's deepest darkness into a light for others navigating change. So, listeners, let me tell you that this is not just a story about blindness, it is about inner vision. It's a story about inner vision. So, with that, listeners, meet my incredible guest, Laura Bratton. Laura, welcome to the show. And as always, it is really an honor to have you here with us every time.
Thank you. I'm excited to connect.
Laura, I must say, I mean, it's. I think we don't even realize that the senses, especially our eyes. I mean, be it any part of our body or our senses, our brain. Um, we don't even consciously recognize their importance in every moment. Um, and even if we have got eyes or we have got ears or we have got tongue, sometimes I think we really struggle to get the best out of them. So with that, let's begin. Like, you often speak how losing your sight as a teenager, it changed, or it completely transformed the way you experience the world. Um, Before we try to understand the role of mindfulness here, Laura, um, what exactly changed? Like, how you used to perceive the world before and after. I mean, if it's okay for you to answer that.
Absolutely. So before, I thought I could control everything. Like, oh, I got it all. I got life planned out. Life's
Mm.
going well. I just, life's just going to keep going this way. Right. There was no thought of, oh, I could lose a major sense, a major part of me. And just as you perfectly described, I took for granted what I did have. And that's not just vision, that was vision, hearing, mobility, just the
Mm.
support system that I had around me. I just took life and my support system for granted. I just assumed this is everyone's reality, or not necessarily everyone's reality, it's just my reality. And so it's just always going to be this way forever. So it was very, this is how it is now. And so this is how it's going to be forever.
Yeah, yeah. And I think um it kind of becomes really I mean, I don't know what I would have felt. So just jumping onto that, Laura, like, what role did mindfulness play in helping you navigate that, change, that early chaos, that anxiety, that, realization that now probably I have to deal with all the things, with all the situations, deal with myself very differently. I don't have that control with me right now. How did mindfulness help you in dealing with that?
So it was literally life changing. And when I say that, I don't mean that just in saying like, oh yeah, it's life
Yeah,
changing. It was great. I mean that
yeah.
very, very, very literally.
Mm.
And let me explain how it was life changing. So
Mhm.
as I was forced into adapting, adjusting, grieving, as you were saying, overwhelmed, the anxiety, the depression, I
Mhm.
felt powerless. I feel like I can't control anything. My life's out of control and I'm never going to amount to anything, or I don't have any gifts to give to the world. And once I realized, all right, I can't control the fact that I'm going blind, but I can control my response to it.
Mm.
That's when I was introduced to mindfulness. And when I was first introduced, my exact thought was, what I'm going through is bigger than mindfulness. Mindfulness, I believe it can help for other situations, but what I'm going through is too big. There's no way I can control my thoughts. There's no way it would be helpful to me at the level of adversity and grief I'm facing. So, as the anxiety continued, as the depression continued, honestly, it was just out of sheer, something has to change, right? Like, to keep going in life, something has to change. So I want to make it very clear. I didn't come into mindfulness happy and peaceful and, oh, yeah, this is going to be a great opportunity. This life changing, right? Like, I came into it like, this is not going to work, but I'll try it anyway. And so as I tried it, the gift was I started to gain back that power of realizing I can control a lot. I can control how I respond to the blindness, how I choose to adapt. Am I going to adapt just out of anger and frustration? Or am I just going to acknowledge this is my new normal? And so this is a resource, a tool I'll use. So, what again, a very practical example of that, mindfulness gave me the power and gave me the tools to observe thoughts rather than instantly think thoughts are going to happen.
Yeah.
So when I would think, I don't know how I'm going to do the future is so fearful, before mindfulness, that would overwhelm me. That would mentally shut me down. Once I learned mindfulness, that taught me, okay, just observe I'm having that thought. And what am I going to do with it? I'm just going to let it come, it go, acknowledge the fear, acknowledge that is reality, but then also realize I have agency. I have choice what I do with that thought. So, from a mindset perspective, it really helped me observe my thoughts rather than instantly become my thoughts.
Mm. That's beautiful, Laura. That's really beautiful. And another, I think, very, very interesting, you know, kind of point I understand from here is that how the context of control, completely shifted here. Before that, you believed that, I can control everything, this is that. But after that, you actually, the entire context changed, like how you will respond to the adversities, how the thoughts, how will you process the thoughts, how will you read the thoughts at the present moment. That exactly what you could control with help of mindfulness. So I think that is something our listeners can also seek some inspiration from.
Yes, and take it from me as a type A person, assuming, thinking I can control everything, learn from my experience. We can't, and that's actually good, right? What we can control is more powerful. What we can control is our response to life. And that brings a sense of freedom. It brings a sense of taking the pressure off. It brings this ease of just controlling me is actually enough. And just controlling my own reaction, both in my mind and in my body, how I respond physically. And what I mean by that is I didn't realize how tight I was clenching my stomach or when I was, my shoulders or my hands would be in a fist and I didn't realize it. I would just be like tensing up my muscles and having no idea I was doing that. So that's the other major part of mindfulness that was life changing for me. It taught me to physically relax in my body. And as I physically relaxed, my thoughts relaxed. The peace was deeper. And I want to make it very, very clear when I say my peace was deeper, it's not that the circumstances changed. I
Mhm.
didn't instantly all of a sudden begin to see, right? Like
Mhm.
I, it wasn't that the outside circumstances changed. It was my perspective and my response was more okay, was more peaceful, was more calm, was more accepting. It is what it is.
Mm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, especially as you mentioned that, the A type personality, like high achievers, they often, like assess their worth either through their you know, titles, roles, how perfect they can perform a role or a job, or how how good they can be a people pleaser, how successful in terms of numbers or achievements they can be. Um, but I think it's so important to know that these factors not they don't they don't equate to our entire worth, our entire self worth. There are multiple things here. There are multiple factors playing their role here. So I think that is also something that I am personally going to take away from here. That I cannot assess my worth. If um I lose something physically or emotionally.
Emotionally. Yeah, 100% because again, as you were saying, is that high achiever,
Mhm.
we focus on the outcomes being our success, right? I'm successful when this happens. And that's what mindfulness taught me. Realizing that success is controlling my reaction, controlling and knowing that my thoughts, my body being at ease, focusing on the breath as mindfulness teaches us to breathe like deep breaths from our diaphragm that allows literally more oxygen to our brain so we think better. Past success. Just controlling again our reaction, like you were saying, regardless if we lose a physical, emotional, any kind of loss, we still have control over how we respond to it. And that's what I mean when I said in the beginning about life change. It taught me I'm still enough when I focus on the mindfulness. And that doesn't make me less of an achiever. Where in the type A before I thought productivity was successful as a type A person.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. And another, and this is quite, very common, like a kind of observation or a kind of assumption that, people make, we make that, we have to wait for breakdowns to awaken. Um, so how, for listeners, Laura, who haven't, let's say, fortunately, I hope, I pray for that, that they haven't gone through any kind of breakdown or loss or anything. How can they access that same depth of awareness without a life altering event?
I'm so, so, so glad you brought that up because that's definitely actually a part of mindfulness I've been thinking about a lot lately.
Oh, okay.
So approach it from the perspective of gratitude. Bringing, and the reason I say that, bringing awareness to what we're grateful for makes us aware of what we have. That opens the door to mindfulness. So, again, it's not something we use just in trauma, adversity, challenges, but it's something that all of us need every single day. And it can start with very simple tasks, just like our morning routine as we're getting ready, being present in that moment. So, yes, it's not just something we use in trauma, it's
Mhm.
something we need and is incredibly helpful to live in the present. And a tangible example of what I mean by that and why I've been thinking about the past couple weeks and months, uh, it helps us stay present in the moment. So now, as I'm adjusted, and obviously I'm living life without sight, but I'm not in that initial grief, traumatic transition. So now that I'm settled and comfortable in my own body, I go back to that type A, right? The planning. I'm always a month ahead, right? And
Mhm.
so I'm just realizing when I'm doing a task, focus on that task. Again, a very tangible example. I realized, when I'm at my stepdaughter's soccer game, I'm planning the grocery list. I'm thinking about the schedule for the next 3 days. I'm
Mm.
always the next place. And what I realized is no, the gift of mindfulness is teaching me just be present at the soccer game
Mm.
and then focus on the grocery list on the way to the grocery store, right?
Mhm.
And so that's literally what I practiced yesterday of just that hour of being at the soccer game. Just
Mhm.
focus on being present there and supporting her rather than trying to be 10 steps ahead to prepare and achieve and make the list and check off the to do list and not even realize the soccer game happened. So,
Mhm.
thank you for bringing that up because that's a very important point for all of us is that mindfulness is not just when things are bad, but
Exactly.
it's a resource that empowers us to stay in the present, to stay focused on the here and now and enjoy the here and now.
Hmm. True. True. And I think one of the next one is also such an obvious question right now. I mean, we are seeing some really, really surprising events happening in every aspect here. um Things, events, occurrences, which kind of really surprises me that how where exactly we are heading, and we're heading to, although I'm actually optimistic. But I really, really sometimes think about this, that when we are so much distracted, um like, I'm eating, I'm having my lunch, and I'm someone who would love to focus on what I'm eating instead of just looking at my phone or doing something. I can read something while eating, because or listen to a good song, or a music while eating, that helps me focus. However, if I get a notification, I get an email or something that really, really kind of, it breaks my rhythm. It sometimes really frustrates me. It really distracts me. So in such situations right now, Laura, like when notifications, they're outnumbering breaths, mindfulness, it feels almost like a countercultural. So have you heard any kind of misconception, when you try to talk to people who come to you, or when you discuss with them about practicing mindfulness?
The number one thing that I get the most often when I introduce mindfulness to people I'm working with is I don't have time. Or that's another or the next one is that's just another thing on my to-do list. That's just another task. And so what I help them understand, like let's use your example of lunch. I help them understand no, mindfulness is to be integrated into your life. So I always start in small segments. So let's just say you're going to take maybe your lunch break is, let's say, 30 minutes. You're going to take just 10 minutes of your lunch break and just turn your phone on do not disturb or airplane mode or put your phone in another room. So don't have, if your phone is right with you, have it to where you're not getting those notifications. So you can do what you said, focus on your lunch, listen to that music, just enjoy the lunch. And then once you do that for 10 minutes for a few days, increase it to 12 minutes. So the whole goal is to introduce mindfulness so that it's integrated into our day-to-day life, not one more to-do list, not one more thing added on to our busy schedule. And that's the important shift that people have to that's the biggest shift I've found for people. Then they accept mindfulness when they realize they can integrate it into their day. It's not just something to be tacked on at the end of the day. Oh, yeah, I remember I need to do mindfulness for 10 minutes before I go to bed. Right. But it's just
Yeah.
make it part of your day. And a lot of people just start with the few minutes of when they brush their teeth. Just
Mm.
practice mindfulness then. So again, it's very, very simple actions that we do every single day, and we're mindful there, and then let the mindfulness expand.
Absolutely. Lovely. I think that is so useful, listeners. So um I'm gonna take away that and put it in my mental note. And I hope you do the same. I think that difference, which Laura just explained between doing mindfulness and being mindful, that is huge. That is huge. Um, it's like chasing calm instead of resting in it. Um, and before we wrap up, I think one more, and this is something I personally, kind of again think a lot about when I do my self introspection. That um, people, when they speak about mindfulness or living in the present, I think you will be the best person to answer this, Laura. That people, when talk about living in the present, thinking about concentrating on your present thoughts, don't get fixated too much on the future or something that you can't control. It kind of makes you complacent, or it kind of makes you kind of unhinged from the preparation that you need to do to get ready for your any kind of unforeseen circumstance that could be happening in the future, and that doesn't exactly work in your favor. So
Right.
um uh, how do you practice acceptance without losing your fire for what's right or necessary?
Great question. I say that because I think about this all the time. So let's go back to your example of eating lunch.
Okay.
So it's not saying eat lunch, focus on your food, enjoy the music, and the rest of the world, you're just gonna be oblivious to the rest of the world forever, right? Like basically, it's not a form of denial or a form of avoidance. What it is it helps us accept what is. So, again, a real world example, you spend 10 minutes listening to a few songs while you're eating lunch. And let's say your next meeting or another meeting later in the afternoon is extremely difficult or makes you angry or upsets you. You're going to handle that situation and process that better because you had that 10 minutes of mindfulness.
Hmm.
So it's again, I want to make it very, very clear mindfulness is not an escape, it's not a tool to numb us out from our problems, our situation. Mindfulness, I didn't walk away. I don't use mindfulness to say, oh, this blindness is great. Right? Like, this is just so peaceful and wonderful. Rather, mindfulness gives us the strength to face what is. So again, spending those few minutes empowers us when we do experience the normal ups and downs of life. And at the same time, let's say you didn't spend that 10 minutes at lunch, but then you had a stressful meeting that upset you or made you angry later in the day. Just
Mm,
taking a few minutes after that meeting to acknowledge this is how I feel.
mm,
That really upset me. That was really hurtful. Those comments, what was said really upset me. What am I going to do about it? And then that gives you the strength to move forward. So again, it's not an avoidance or a everything's great in the world. I'm just going to pretend it's all good. But it gives us strength to acknowledge what is and then have the power to figure out what we need to do.
exactly. Exactly, Laura. And I so much connect with that because something personal and something once again kind of life changing um had happened a few years back with me in my professional world. And at that time I was also in that state of denial. I kind of my mind just automatically gave me the command that just sleep on it. I can't think about it. And later, now when I think about that situation very calmly, I feel like my inner self feels that I could have figured out a solution to avoid that, or maybe to maybe flip the situation right there. Maybe I could have figured out something. Maybe my life would have been different. But then, once again, when I come back to the present moment and I think about what I'm doing right now, my inner self once again thanks me. Okay, right now where you are in a good place. So enjoy it, love it.
Yes. And that's the other gift of just if we're in a good place, enjoy it. Don't always be anticipating when's the bat gonna come, right? Like, just enjoy the good for the good that it is, because life brings so many ups and downs and unexpected situations. When it is good, just sit there, just celebrate, and that's what I work with so many people on, is just receiving the good. Not feeling like, "Okay, I have to prepare for the bad, the bad's coming tomorrow," And always, like, almost that, like, intense our body's tense preparing for it.
Mhm.
Rather just relaxing in the good because we know it will last forever, right? Like, it's just the normal flow of life. So just trusting ourselves to be content with the good.
Absolutely. Brilliant, brilliant, Laura. I think this was such a crucial and fruitful conversation. So of course, if listeners they would like to get further, they would like to further explore on the resources that you're providing, the ways that you help people, get on this journey of mindfulness. What would be the easiest way?
The best way is my website, laurabratton.com, has all the information about my speaking, coaching, the book, getting in touch. It's all there.
Brilliant, brilliant. Listeners, what I'll do for you is I'll have the link, the website, the details in the show notes. So just refer to them, check out Laura Bratton's website, her services, her coaching, her books, and everything on her website. And also, thank you so much, listeners, for tuning into this episode. Because I think what today's conversation, it it reminded all of us is that, especially me, that mindfulness isn't about escaping reality. Nope, not. And it's about meeting it fully. It's not a soft glow of calm, but it's a brave act of attention to be with what is, even when it hurts, even when it heals. So, Laura, thank you so much. You are actually a living proof that vision is so much more than sight. I mean, it's awareness, it's presence and choice. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for this platform.
And listeners, please do subscribe to the Mindful Journey podcast. Leave us a review. Let us know because it keeps the wheels running here. And also, until next time, breathe, notice, and remember, awareness changes everything. With this is your host Sana signing off. Thank you.